And, your shop, your place of business is marketing in and of itself. I've gone in and I've visited shops and, they complain about having a retention problem and high turnover employees. And I walk in and it's like flickering lights in the shop, peeling paint on the walls. It's depressing. They got stains all over the carpet. It's like feels like a prison cell when you
signage, poor lighting.
Yeah. And then you look at the vehicles and they're all, early model vehicles that are, knocking and bumping and rattling, and everything is just chucked in the back of the truck and no one can find anything. Nothing's organized. I'm sorry, but high performing people are going to hate that environment and they'll bounce. Low performing people that are pigs and just don't care about that kind of stuff, they'll just do it because it's a job. And we don't want those kind of people. So
when those are the same people that'll leave you for $1 more an hour.
Exactly right. It's just a commodity at that point.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
What's up, everyone? Mike Gorhickman here, founder of PainterGrowth.com, and you're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. And I'm joined today by a very impressive entrepreneur, Mr. Brandon Vaughn, founder of Hirebus, also got some crazy other scaled up home service businesses we're going to talk about today. So what's up, man? Stoked to have you here today.
What's up, Mike? Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ground I want to cover today. Why don't we start with, give a little teaser. So right now, just what you told me before we went on there, about your epoxy flooring company, just kind of where is that at right now and what's that trajectory? Build that early credibility.
Okay. Well, I actually launched it in January of 2021 as an experiment. Basically, the experiment was, we called it Map to a Million. We did a YouTube show, and I wanted to document starting a brand new company from zero and see how quickly I could scale it to 7 figures. And we chose the garage floor coatings industry, the coatings industry in general, for a lot of reasons. One, it's a really sexy industry, but the restrictions I gave myself was I couldn't do any work in the field. I wouldn't do any sales in person at all. And I would literally run this business completely as an absentee owner, just focusing on marketing and systems. I wouldn't answer any phone calls. And so we launched that in January of 21. We went from $0 to $100,000 a month in 4 months. So month 4, we did $100,000 in revenue. We hit 7 figures our first year. We franchised it. We opened up a bunch of locations ourselves personally as well. And now we have 35 locations. We're doing well over $1 million a month. And we're adding about another 20 more locations this year. So it was a super fun journey. And if people want to check it out, you can go check it out on YouTube, Map to a Million, and watch. There's like 16 episodes that kind of journey the first 100K.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out after for sure. So are you using I'm a little bit about franchising. Are you using a broker, or how are you finding your franchisees?
We actually got featured by a company on YouTube called Upflip. Okay. And they did a video on us, and I wouldn't say it went viral, but we got 1 million views within about 2.5 months. And we got 2,000 applications to open a Wise Coatings location from that one single video. To be honest, I still have no clue what I'm doing as far as, marketing for franchises. I've never franchised anything before. I brought on a CEO, Whitney, who's also my partner in this. She has equity in the business and she runs all the operations. So I am back as just kind of an absentee owner of the business and kind of help with strategy stuff, but don't have any day-to-day operations.
I love it. And I guess what I always try to do with the Painter Growth Podcast is try to get practical tips that the guys can go and use right away as a result of listening to this podcast. And I think what we're going to try to pull out of you is how guys can really use smart hiring practices to build a quality team like that and get their time back. Because, as you probably know as good as anyone, the wrong team will cost you so much more than 100%. Having no team at all, and having the right team can change your life.
For sure. Yeah. Even one person on your team that's strategic can completely replace you as the owner even. So in my business, I have 9 different companies that I own, but I have CEOs and GMs that run every single one of those businesses. The only business that I'm running actively right now is Hirebus, my software company. But other than that, Let's figure out how we can stop doing stuff. Instead of to-do lists, let's, stop doing lists is what I kind of like to focus and just remove myself more and more out of each business I start.
Yeah. I mean, that aligns almost exactly with my only quote that I ever want to be like quoted by, quoted for.
Let's hear it, man.
It's your ability to grow your ability to grow your business is limited only by your ability to delegate more and more complex tasks.
100%. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's funny, one of the things that I talk to a lot of people about is imagine running a multi-million dollar business, a painting business. How many technicians does it take to run a multi-million dollar business? How many employees, how many hours per week of effort is required by humans in order to scale up a company that size?
Well, to a million is about 8.
Yeah. So do we really think that like between the sales, the admin, the back end, the marketing, people that's involved, our 40 hours a week is going to have any major substantial impact overall for a large company? We're always the bottleneck in our business, I feel.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit. What are some of the, how am I going to structure this question? When you're looking at making your next hire, how do you think about that, and how do you really decide who the next person to hire should be? What's your process for that?
So I have a framework that we've taught in Conquer. Conquer was my coaching company that I scaled up a while ago, and the framework that we have is called MAPS. It stands for marketing, admin, production, and sales. And these are the 4 departments in a home service business that need to be systemized, and someone needs to own each one of these 4 departments to be able to kind of scale up and grow. And there's an order that I believe is best practices on what parts of the business you should be delegating first and what parts you should kind of wait till the end to really kind of delegate fully off to someone else. And we have kind of these 5 stages of business growth that we kind of go through. But typically I'll look at that framework and say, okay, the production side of the business, that's all the techs out in the field and painters out in the field to be able to actually deliver the work. We need people, we need equipment, we need vehicles in order to be able to deliver that. And so for me, one of the first things that I think of in a home service business is, how can I get people on my team to where I don't have to think about production? I can throw work up on the schedule and production happens. And I have people that are responsible in there that can own that department to where I don't have to think about it at all. I can feel confident that, hey, here's a job and here's all the details, relevant details about it. Go out and get it done. So depending on, what I have in each one of those 4 departments, we actually have like a tool that's called the MAPS Business Snapshot Report that kind of goes through those 4 different departments and figures out, what's your score in each one. That's what I typically use to try to figure out, okay, what area do we need to hire for first so that I can have more time as an owner to focus on scaling and optimizing.
Mm-hmm. I do that exact same thing. It's all about getting it out of your brain, out of your brain space. And I think that's a challenging thing a lot of business owners have, especially the ones that have like stayed small for a long time, which is, if you're listening to this, you know who you are. It's like that not even just the letting go, but for me at least, it's like the hunger to let go. It's like, I can't wait to stop doing this so that I don't have to think about it. And as soon as it's off of your brain, then you're totally free to think about something else.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, the main primary focus is it's fear and it's letting go of control. I mean, I remember the first time that I went out into, had my technicians that went out into the field without me, and it was terrifying. I actually drove out there and parked around the corner and like went and hid in the bushes and watched them to make sure that they were like following the checklist and how were they talking to the homeowners. Okay. And I think it's a hard thing to let go for most owners. To me, it's one of the scariest steps to kind of get out of the field and trust that the quality is going to be there without you as the painter, on the tools actually doing the work. And systems is a big way to kind of control a lot of those things.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me a lot of a friend of mine who you either know or have come across, John Evans. So he runs Everline Coatings.
Okay.
And so last year they crossed 100 franchise locations for line striping. I had him on the podcast. I've known him for years and years. Yeah, they used Franchise Fastlane was like their broker. and
Oh,
that helped
nice.
them scale. They went real hard into the States last year. They went from like 22 franchises to 100 in 12 months. It's crazy. But one of the quotes that he says is in that specific topic is some fires have to burn.
Mhm.
And you just have to let those fires burn, or else people are never going to learn.
Yeah, I love that. So true. Put on your fire inspector hat and figure out who's starting all these fires first. And yeah, letting those things kind of burn and simmer for a little bit can be scary, but yeah, I like the way that's put.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how. So just reiterate one more time how you kind of think about what the next task is or what the next role is you're going to hire.
So the 4 departments: marketing, admin, production, and sales. Marketing is all the work, all the leads, lead flow. You guys are really good at that. Lead flow coming in, making sure that there's enough work kind of stacked up in the pipeline. Admin is scheduling, dispatching, the HR back office type of work. Production is everything out in the field doing the work. And then sales is converting all those leads to actual paying customers and all the things that kind of go into there. So me as the executive, I'm looking down and saying, what part of the business is weak? Do I have the right person there? Or am I lacking someone that can really own that department and free me up from it? And so usually production is the first thing that kind of gets delegated out. Then the admin department gets delegated out. Then the sales department gets delegated out. Then the marketing. And you kind of like bounce back and forth to figure out, okay, what do we need to work on next? And once that part's done, you get to promote yourself all the way throughout your company, finally to business owner. And that's what I'm trying to do. So when I'm looking at who to hire, that's how I kind of go about it. And sometimes I may make the decision to start from day one with a general manager and go out and put ads out there for someone that can come in and be the tip of the spear to launch a location from scratch, and have a little bit more of that cash investor mindset as opposed to, replacing myself actively in the business and starting out from day one in the field. So lots of different.
That's the like advanced business owner
Totally
way
yeah.
to start a business. You
Yeah,
think of
it's
like
scarier.
You think of someone like Elon Musk, right? He like doesn't know how to like build out like a charge infrastructure, but he hires someone who's really expensive who does know how to do that, and then he just leads them and guides them.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is Steve Jobs, where he says, I don't hire people so that I tell them what to do. I want to hire smart people so they tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So like with the franchising side, no clue what I'm doing, but I can go out and find someone that's taken a franchise location from 1 to 140 locations. And then they come in with the blueprint and say, okay, here's exactly what we need to do. You want to go expand your business into other locations? Go out and find someone that has done that before as part of their career. They're really excellent at it. Incentivize them on what that looks like. Maybe even, I'm a big fan of equity vesting schedules for senior people to where they can come in and if they provide a real impact, they can earn percentages of equity in the business.
Yeah.
So again, more of an advanced thing to kind of focus on. But my big mindset shift is, my first home service business owner experience was me in the field doing everything. And it took me years to be able to break out of that habit. Now having kind of gone through it, I try to focus purely in this space where I can just hire teams and just focus on who to hire, build out the team, and try to stay out of the day-to-day stuff as much as I can.
Yeah.
I'm not good at tasks. I suck at it. I'm super ADD. And, you give me a big task list. I collapse on myself like a dying star. I waste time on Facebook sometimes. I, get totally distracted. I have big time imposter syndrome from time to time.
Or the worst, when your team gives you something to do and you screw up or you don't do it.
Yeah. And they keep getting those messages. Brandon, when are you going to get that done?
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I gotta do that. So for me, it's a survival tactic to really make sure that I'm not a bottleneck anywhere because it's too much pressure. It gives me anxiety. And there's people on my teams that's way bit more qualified, if you build the teams right, to be able to take care of that stuff.
I think that the lesson that other people can take from this who aren't in that position where they can't hire that executive at this point, I think the lesson is that in order to scale as a business owner and to become a better a better entrepreneur, you need to be comfortable playing outside your league. And you need to take bigger swings, because as long as you do something that's scary, like the first thing that you did was scary was hire painters to paint without you being there, and you're scared, but you're doing it. And now it's I'm bringing on 100 franchises, and I'm scared, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah. And it's calculating risk. And, for me, the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who's willing to have greater risk for greater reward. And taking on that greater risk profile means, investing more cash. My philosophy is time is infinitely more valuable than money. And in early stage of my business, I would trade my time, which it felt like it was infinite because, young, invincible, I got all the time in the world to do this. I can work nights and weekends in order to save money. When the reality is time's infinitely more valuable than money, and we should be spending our money to collapse time. Yes, we could eventually build $1 million business over the course of 10 years if we do all the things and we're working ourselves to death, or we can invest in getting someone who can really help us supercharge our growth, invest in sales teams and marketing efforts and coaching, like with Painter Growth, and then accelerate faster. That cash investment to collapse time is no better investment, in my opinion, that you can make in your business, which is why coaching is so powerful. And what you guys do is so powerful. It's if you could collapse time and get there, 4 years faster, 5 years faster, you can't put a price tag on that. It's infinitely better ROI because time is infinitely more valuable than money.
Absolutely. Now, how do you handle, or how do you recommend people handle? Because this is something a lot of people struggle with. It's when do I know that it's time to hire? And it's I'm making, say I'm profiting 10K a month right now, but if I'm to hire a production manager, I'm going to bring my profit down to just 4K a month. That's a huge chunk of my profit. So how do you handle a short-term P&L hit, or the mentality around taking a P&L hit in order to buy your time back?
That's a great question. The first thing that I do is I recognize that it's a mindset shift to make at the beginning. A good employee will never be an expense. They'll never be a liability. There'll always be an investment with a return on that investment. I've seen people scale up their companies like a rocket ship because they went out and hired 10 salespeople. Now, if you look at that on a P&L and you're looking and saying, wow, 70 to 100K per salesperson, I don't have that much cash in the bank account. But when you actually do it and you train them and you make sure they're the right people, and all of a sudden they more than pay for themselves.
Sales is an easy one though, because that's a revenue generating role.
It's true. And for me, I kind of look at the teeter-totter of growing a home service business. On one side, you have your sales and marketing efforts to get in leads and get sales. And then on the other side, you have your production, which is, your technicians, your equipment, your vehicles, your subcontractors to be able to handle the demand. And, a weighted thing like this, where you have more sales and marketing and you don't have enough technicians to handle the work, that's really obvious of where I need to hire. Because, okay, well, we got to, I can't tell customers that we're booked out for 2 months, 3 months, because we're gonna start losing customers. So now I need to hire more and work on my capital to be able to increase my capacity. Or if it's the other way, you don't have any work on the schedule for tomorrow and you have guys and gals you need to keep busy. Well, then we know that there's a problem on our sales and marketing side, to start kind of scaling that up. So usually that's one of the first things that I look at. That's the lowest hanging fruit. And then I like to look at not having any more than about 6 reporting lines to any one employee. So if I have, 10 crews and one manager that's managing all of these ones, and he's burnt out and he never has enough time to train the new people, and there's not enough floaters or we got to tighten up the middle management side of things to be able to have enough reporting lines to kind of cover that. So mindset shift is one part. The second part is I will live and die by a budget. I do not make a single hire until I forecast out at least 12 months what the impact to my P&L is going to look like and what my cash flow looks like. So we have full P&L. I make full P&L budget sheets for every single line item. I have employee planning calculators where I take a look at every single employee, what their fully loaded cost is. And I'll say, okay, if I hire this person, how long will it take to ramp up production to be able to get them at full capacity on that painting crew? Do I need to add another salesperson in order to be able to drive more growth into that? How much are they going to cost? What my marketing spend needs to come up. And then on my P&L sheets, I have a running line item that has what my cash bank account looks like each month. So I can see, okay, if we hire this person, Here's how long I have to basically make it profitable, make it work out, and here's how much cash I may burn. So all of those things help provide confidence that it's the right move when you can look at it on paper. So I may start out with like a gut instinct of I think I need to hire this position, but then I'll do a due diligence check and say, okay, how will this impact our business for the next 3 to 6 months until we can start paying for that person, or we start getting that return on that investment back.
Yeah, the crazy thing about business, like as you're going through that, is that the bigger the business, the more all businesses are the same.
So true. So true.
The way you look at that, I mean, small businesses should be doing that too. It's a little bit harder for a company that's doing like 30 or 50K a month to quote unquote live and die by a budget.
Yeah.
There's just more variation, but I still think that forecasting is important.
Yeah. And I'd make the argument that even if you're at 30 to 50K, you're going to hit that first kind of break point in your business where you get burnt out. And for me,
Everyone gets there.
Yeah, you just it's like around the $1 million mark where you kind of get to that and you're starting to feel a little bit tapped and strapped and you're working all over the place. And you're like, can I afford to hire someone to come in and help me? Can I afford to hire someone to answer the phones? Can I afford to get a shop? Can I afford to hire a couple more technicians? A budget sheet doesn't have to be overly complex, and you can pretty much look at it once a month and even get a good start. So, for me, going into my QuickBooks, entering my actuals probably only takes about 2 hours a month. And then building out that forecast, there's lots of phenomenal tools. I'm sure you guys have incredible tools that help out with those types of, cash flow forecasts and things. And it's just blocking it out on your calendar and being a little more proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah. Now that we've kind of done that, we've done the budget, we see how long it's going to take to make them pay off. What do you look for in a good employee? What's your hiring process like? Because this is obviously a big part of your life right now with Hirebus, which I want to chat about a little bit, at the end. But what is how do you go through that?
Yeah, the first thing, so I'll categorize it into a couple different tiers. You have your technicians, you have your managers, and then you have your executives. And by executives, I mean like borderline C-level, VP level, maybe directors up higher. There's different things that I look for each one of these positions. At the very lowest level, for painters, for floor coating technicians, I actually kind of intentionally don't look for someone who knows how to do the work, because I want good soft skills. I want someone that has a good behavioral fit. They're proactive. They have good military leadership. They follow along with our processes. They're compliant. They have fantastic people skills where they talk to our customers. They're representing our business. They're your frontline workers, the face of the company, so to speak. And you can have the best salesperson on the planet, and then you sell and the techs show up and, they do a crappy job. Like, that's going to hurt you on the backside. So
or they do a good job, but leave it like they're not polite, or they're smelly, or
yeah. Get people that smell good.
We all know that. We all know that painter that you're thinking about.
Yeah. Go out when you interview them. Go out and look in their car while they're not looking and see how clean it is, and that's a good indicator.
Huge indicator. Yeah.
So I'll look for that for technicians. Now, when you make a decision to hire people that don't have those hard skills, you have to have a really good training program. So we have a huge video library that we made in-house that has step-by-step how to do everything in the field. And they can look at it on their mobile phones if they want a refresher or try to figure those things out. We have really good cheat sheets and systems for that. So we don't have to rely on, we have to go hire people that are experienced because we're bad at training.
That's like your internal processes for your techs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's an important part to focusing on hiring people just for soft skills is you're excellent trainers that can make them excellent painters once you bring them in-house.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are scared of that though. Most you see, I get at least a lot of comments on like my Facebook ads and stuff. You're like, yeah, we can't find any good painters. There's no experienced painters who are ready to work, who are good quality. You're going to work for $25 an hour.
Right. I agree. I think that that's really challenging. And I think that the odds of finding a fantastic painter that's available and actually looking for a job and has really good soft skills. Two, you have to think about where you're posting your ads. If you were to look at a pie chart of everyone who you could possibly hire, you're going to have people that are happily employed, right? So that's a big chunk of the pie. Happily employed, not looking, love their job. It would take a miracle for them to leave their job. Then you have the next group of people that are unemployed and just the serial job hoppers. Well, we can't get those people. We don't want those people either. And then you have the active people that are actually looking for a job, and they're looking on job boards. That's a relatively small slice. And then you have this other slice on the pie chart that are painters that are experienced. They're okay with their employer. They're kind of comfortable. They'll clock in. They're loyal. They won't go and they won't actively hunt and search. So there's different marketing techniques to find these different ones. One of them is.
And I would also even add in, just real quick, sorry to break your train of thought, but that chunk of people who are qualified quality painters who are looking for a job, like they probably have some side work keeping them busy too. So they might just be happy and they'll start one of these, just solopreneur businesses, and then all of a sudden you can't afford them anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. So, when you have those different, pie slices there, if you're just posting in one place, you're only getting a small percentage of it. And finding good quality people at the end of the day is a marketing exercise. It's a tough sell to convince another human to come work for you and spend more time with you in your business than they spend at home with their own families. That's a tough sell. And it's much easier to convince a homeowner to paint their home. And we'll spend tons of time and effort and thought into how to get customers that want us to paint their home versus a ton of time and thought into how do we convince humans to come into our business and that we have a really good opportunity here. So for me, we have fantastic videos that talk about the culture of the company and why we have an opportunity and what the growth path looks like. We have a leadership program. We have an amazing training program. And that causes there to be a line of people waiting to come in and apply and join our company because we have really good marketing assets that advertise we're an incredible company to join. We're an incredible team.
And you're offering skill development.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've never painted before? No problem. We have a dedicated facility where we will teach you exactly how to do everything in the technical side. And we love to do it. And we're great at it. And there's all this opportunity over here. And then you get those people that, are like, wow, I never thought of myself being a painter, but I'm OCD. I love watching satisfying videos online. Like, sounds cool. Let me try it out. So I think that the painters that have experience, they just get recycled sometimes between different companies and kind of bounce around. And they'll oftentimes carry very bad habits that you cannot break them of. And they can be cancerous. They can come into your company and tell you, oh, you guys use garbage paint. You shouldn't be using those brushes and rollers. This is trash. I do it this way because this way is better. It's like, you don't want all those bad habits creeping in and causing a bunch
Professionals don't tape their baseboards.
Yeah, exactly. And so like experienced for me is not a plus the majority of the time. It's usually a downgrade because we have very stringent, high protocol systems, and it's much easier to train someone fresh who's just humble and has that beginner's mindset.
Totally. How do you feel about the concept of you're only able to attract people that are, like half a step worse than you? So if you're like a solid C player, you're only going to attract C's and D's. You need to kind of raise yourself up to attract the A talent.
I agree with that 100%. And, your shop, your place of business is marketing in and of itself. I've gone in and I visited shops and, they complain about having a retention problem and high turnover employees. And I walk in and it's like flickering lights in the shop, peeling paint on the walls. It's depressing. They got stains all over the carpet. It's like feels like a prison cell when you
signage, poor lighting.
Yeah. And then you look at the vehicles and they're all, early model vehicles that are, knocking and bumping and rattling, and everything is just chucked in the back of the truck and no one can find anything. Nothing's organized. I'm sorry, but high performing people are going to hate that environment and they'll bounce. Low performing people that are pigs and just don't care about that kind of stuff, they'll just do it because it's a job. And we don't want those kind of people. So when
those are the same people that'll leave you for $1 more an hour.
Exactly right. It's just a commodity at that point. So what I want people to show up, and we have, full wall wraps and big 65-inch flat screen TVs with all of our KPIs and dashboards. And they go out to the shop and it's pristine and everything's got QR codes on the inventory checkout things. And you go to the back of the vehicles, they're leased vehicles that are fully wrapped and they love driving them. Now they have pride in where they work and they feel like I have a great company with a future. And that's not only marketing, but it's also systems to just make people feel like they can perform at a higher level. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you 100%. If your company feels like a C-level company, you're going to attract the D's and the F's in the world instead of being that top tier company that just stands apart everybody else.
Yeah. Have you ever met with or talked to John McFarland before?
I have. Yeah. I love John.
Yeah. So John, I had him on here before, and he has I think 75 in-house employees for his painting company. Like they're doing like 13 million or something crazy in Detroit. And that's he is a big proponent of like treating your painters incredibly well, like treating them like family basically. And a lot of the things that you were saying, I think he would also do. But what are some things that you would recommend doing for your painters, not just like on the process side in terms of the QR codes and the flat screen TVs, because most people listening here don't even have a shop, right?
It's true.
But what are some things you could do for, you find this person, you find this rock, and you're like, shit, I really want to keep this guy. He's like producing really well. I want to keep him happy. How can you retain these people?
Well, one thing I want to circle back on real quick that you just mentioned about some of these people don't have shops. You can still have a fantastic system for your employees, even if you don't have that kind of shop. And be intentional with tablets and things. You can still organize the back of their vehicles. You can still make sure the inventory is really clean and easy to be able to update. When you do get a shop, though, you can start to notice the quality of your applicants kind of changes a little bit. So the things that one of my favorite books of all time for culture is The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. And it has this story of this company that experienced 400% turnover every year. So every employee in their company, they churned 4 times a year. And they implemented this program called the Dream Management Program. And what it was they would ask their employees, every employee, hey, what's your dream? What are some of your dreams that you'd love to accomplish in your lifetime? The employees were kind of taken aback a little bit. And some of their dreams were they'd love to buy their own house. They'd love to own their own vehicle outright. They'd love to have a nice Christmas this year for their family, like all these a complete different variety and spectrum of them. And the Dream Manager, this person in charge of this program, would sit down and help them figure out how to achieve that and help them with some financial planning and help kind of coach them into it. And maybe even set aside a little bit of their paycheck, each week with a bonus tied to, hey, if you hit these bonuses, we'll match whatever you set aside for this and we'll help you achieve that dream. And then all of a sudden these employees say, I've never had a company that has actually asked me this question. They genuinely care about me first. If I help the company achieve its dreams and goals, I'll get my dreams and goals achieved as well. So you're like connecting all of these things together. And for me, it was such an epiphany moment when I read this book, and we intentionally worked on it. We didn't go hire a dream manager, but we started changing some of our team meetings. Instead of just saying, hey, here's our KPIs, here's our safety stuff, we would start bringing in financial advisors to teach everyone on our team how to improve their credit score. We'd go through Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University with all of our people and like start the debt snowball and start doing some of these things and teach them how to save up for a house and teach them stuff that schools don't teach anyone about life. And we started to get more referrals of really great, amazing employees from our current employees because they'd go tell people, I've never had a company, that cared so much about me and cared about my personal success. And that stuff is relatively free to do. You just have to kind of be intentional with it, not start and then stop. You have to like stick with it and keep doing it. When you feel like no one cares, you keep doing it. And then people start getting some wins and then it starts accumulating. Before you know it, you have this transformative culture in your company where people are viciously loyal. And to me, I think that culture starts with you first and foremost caring about your employees winning and leveling up in life. And on the personal side too, is most performance issues I've found with employees are typically tied to something going on in their personal life. And, just being more attuned to that, it's for me, a big, important part of having a good culture.
Yeah. That's, I mean, the hardest part of that, like all you said, like it's pretty easy probably to get started, but just continuing to do it, especially if you're like the only manager on your team and you have,
Right.
a dozen painters, it's hard to like, cause you're busy as hell.
Yeah. But just start slow, hey, once a month, we're going to have this meeting, and we're going to, instead of our normal team meeting, we're going to bring in a guest, and we're going to have them, do something special. You can have a VA arrange for people to come in, or just, focus on it and just open up a conversation about it. When you do your performance reviews, just ask, hey, what are some of your dreams? And during that performance review, help them figure out a plan to help them achieve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm even doing a lot of that with, or some of that, not a lot of that, some of that with my virtual team. Like my team's all over the world, right?
Yeah.
US, Canada. And so one thing that I've recently implemented is like a tech allowance. So it's like just in their lives, in their business, if they need anything for like their work, or like if they need a computer, or if they need a GPU, or if they need a screen or whatever, just like let me know, and like we'll probably buy it for you.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing how much, like, how no one else does that kind of stuff as employers?
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference with your team members to say, wow, this person really genuinely cares about us.
I think the coolest thing about all of the things that you're talking about right now is that they don't have to be expensive, and
Right.
they can probably get you more loyalty than the equivalent raise of that much. Or I'm sure they would get you more loyalty because there's thought behind it. It's like the difference between like getting your wife or whatever a gift that's worth, $1,000 that she really wanted, or just like giving her $1,000.
Which she spends on groceries.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, those types of spiffs and gifts, experiences are also really great too. Rather than just giving someone a $300, cash thing that's going to go to their bills, give them and their significant other a wonderful date night, all expenses paid to a sports game or a movie thing, or, just something where it's things they wouldn't normally do and they wouldn't carve out. And then all of a sudden you have their spouse or significant other saying, man, I like this company. They're making us, they're forcing us to go out and do date nights, and they're forcing us to go out and do these things. And it just hits a little bit differently with some of those incentives.
Oh, for sure. I remember this one time I bought I had like 6 or 8 painters. They all knew each other, and they all wanted to go to this barbecue college party thing, and it was like $40 a ticket, like wasn't a lot. But I'm like, hey, you guys finish this job below budget, and I'm gonna give you guys all tickets to this thing. And so they finished the job, they crushed it. And so I went to the site to help them close it up, and I handed them the tickets right there, and they were just like, they were so
awesome.
They talked about that for years.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah. Awesome.
So you obviously have a ton of experience hiring and recruiting, and like you've hired hundreds and hundreds of people, and now you're scaling this franchise, which is super, super cool. Tell me a little bit about Hirebus. How'd you get into that, and what is it?
It basically kind of started because, for selfish reasons, we built out all of our funnels, our hiring funnels for my own home service businesses. And, the big key that I teach and talk about all the time and we implement is always be hiring. Never turn your hiring off, because inevitably what's going to happen is one of your painters or your lead techs or someone's going to turn in 2 weeks notice, or they're just going to not show up to work one day. And now you're scrambling and you're losing production, and we would calculate, if we lost a day of production in my floor coatings business, that's $1,600 of revenue out the window. And really quickly that can throw profitability way off. So what we did is we leave our funnels on, all of our job ads, all of our nurture sequences, all of our automations. And Hirebus has something called a right seat assessment, which is a single question that you ask every applicant, and it'll, based on what their answers are and their assessment is, it'll give you a score on 1 to 10 of how well behaviorally they will fit for a given position, lead technician or anything else. And so what it does is it prioritizes the people that score 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s onto your calendar so that you interview the top 3% of talent. And so it reduces the amount of screening time and everything else you do on the back end. And then it just puts calendar interview appointments. So we're always interviewing. We have a day a week where we're interviewing people, even if we're fully staffed. And if we find someone that's great, we have the opportunity to swap out a low performer with someone that could come in and replace them. We have the opportunity to, if someone quits, we have a waiting list of hundreds of people that we can call or send out a text blast to saying, hey, an opening just opened up. We think you'd be a great fit. They may have another job since we interviewed them, but maybe they don't love it, and they really wanted to come work for us because of all of our marketing stuff. So that's what we did. We built out this software platform that does complete done for you hiring. It writes all your job ads. It split tests all the performance of them. It sends the interview assessments. It nurtures them along the process, and then we'll auto schedule the best, top talent on your calendar to where you can have that always be hiring funnel. And there's a whole bunch of other cool stuff that we're building. It's been a ton of fun. It's like one of the funnest things I've ever done as an entrepreneur. It's really cool.
That's awesome. That's the hallmark of an entrepreneur, is just like finding a problem and finding a creative way to solve it. A problem in your life, you imagine that other people have that same problem. So it's like, let's solve it at scale.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. I think that's the coolest part about how amazing is it what we do, Mike. The gift of an entrepreneur is we get to, focus on helping people get solutions to their problems. So that's like super high, fulfilling, and rewarding. We get to pick exactly who our coworkers are that we work with every single day. Like, everyone that's listening to this podcast, isn't it just the most amazing gift ever to have that level of freedom and impact to other people in their life?
You also can't sleep on the gift that is the internet.
Right.
Making all of this possible. Where are you located?
I'm in Washington State right now.
You're in Washington. I'm up in Canada. The listeners and wherever you're listening, and it's all happening in a second, and it's that we wouldn't have any of this if we weren't. I mean, I'm sure we would have found our own entrepreneurial ventures without the internet, but the scale and impact that we're able to have
is so true
with that. Yeah. Now, have you read, I'm sure you've read Who Not How?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So that kind of feels like your hiring methodology is if we have the right person, the solutions will fall into place.
Yeah, 100%. And so, the cool thing is our right seat assessment that we have is amazingly powerful for salespeople because it measures 5 different behaviors: proactivity, aggression, self-control, criticality, and creativity. And there's a specific benchmark combination of those different 5 behaviors that account for the top 1% of salespeople. And they have these behaviors. And so what we take a look at is we benchmark everyone before we even interview them. So the people that we bring onto our team, behaviorally, they have a very, very good high chance of fitting well for that position. And then it's just a matter of training and the accountability systems to make sure that they perform at a high level. So, this behaviors first view of employees is been kind of game changing for Wise Codings, because now we don't have to waste time with, people who at the end of the day won't even fit well because they don't have the attributes that it takes to be a super high, level salesperson. And then production manager, office manager, every position inside of a company we hire for.
Yeah. So what's the process? How does someone use Hirebus? How much does it cost? Just run me through that.
They use it pretty much. It starts with an onboarding call. We find out about your company culture. We ask a whole bunch of intake questions because we write
for what size of business would you recommend guys start thinking about using Hirebus?
Anyone that already has 2 to 3 employees already, and they know that they need to have a pipeline of employees to hire.
Cool.
Because people quit, people come on board. We can do a one-off hire for somebody, but we don't like to, pretty much because, the always be hiring mindset and mentality is what actually helps people solve their team problems. And once we do the intake form, we take care of everything else. We literally will post all your job ads, write all of them. We constantly monitor and split test them. We integrate in with all the job boards so that we'll optimize them. We pull them in, we nurture them. We automatically send them the assessment. And then so at that point, we just need to have a calendar integration with whatever interview calendar you want to have. You set your availabilities or your team's availabilities. And the cost of it, basically the complete done for you hiring funnel, is pretty much about, I think it's about $497 a month is what that is, to where it's just, you don't have to think about it again.
You don't have to pay like Indeed fees or anything.
If you want to boost things, you can. If you have like a very tight deadline getting started, but once you get to that point, we just recommend keeping it on maintenance mode to where you don't have to pay it. And we constantly refresh the Indeed ads, so they always show up to the very, very top of the the search results.
Yeah. So as long as you're making like a hire every couple of months, it's like for sure worth it.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you just want the behavioral assessment component of it, and you run your own ads, or you have your own stuff going, and you want to coach your teams, you want to find out if people on your teams are a good fit, our product starts at $150 a month to be able to have access to give unlimited assessments to anyone on your team. And if you want to see what the one question is that we ask, I can give your listeners a free assessment. They can log in and take the assessment for themselves.
Oh, that'd be good. People would love that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm stoked with what you built and your franchise and everything. And congrats on all your success, dude. This is exciting. I feel like we should have another follow-up episode and get into your origin story a little bit more another time.
Yeah, I'd love to. I got lots of really depressing stories of entrepreneurship where I feel like I've made every single mistake that a business owner can make. I've said one time I said something really stupid at one of our team meetings, and no joke, over half of my employees quit within about 2 to 3 weeks after I said that stupid thing at a team meeting.
Yeah.
And, it's just, we were booked out for 2 months solid, and I like curled up in the fetal position on the couch and cried because it was so stressful.
Yeah. That'd be a juicy episode. Let's exchange horror stories for an hour.
That sounds good. That'd be very cathartic. I think I'd like that, just to kind of remind myself that, okay, things aren't as bad right now. Things are
exactly. If you look at your life from, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and you look at where you're at now, it's just, I'm sure your younger self would be very pleased with you.
They wouldn't believe it. My younger self would never believe it. When I first started my first business, I had like a 5-year growth plan, and it was to go from $100,000 a year in revenue to $200,000 a year in revenue over 5 years.
Yeah.
Like growing like 10-15% each year. And even looking at that, young entrepreneur Brandon was like, wow, do I really think I can double my business? Is that too much? And just you are constantly breaking your own self-limiting beliefs as an entrepreneur. And I think that's kind of the key to growth, is always letting yourself be uncomfortable and be in that constant state of fear where you kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing. Because to be somewhere you've never been means doing things you've never done. That's scary. So
that means we're all faking it at some level.
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, none of us know what we're doing, right, Mike? I mean, really, like it's on a regular basis where we're really questioning, man, am I doing the right thing? Did I make the right move? Did I do the wrong move? I've never done this thing before.
You gotta take big swings too as an entrepreneur, right? If you're not taking big swings, you're just going to stay small forever.
Yeah, that's true. And then build a good budget. Nothing softer. There's no softer pillow in my mind than a really good budget sheet and forecast. I'm a spreadsheet nerd though, so I get a lot of comfort with those.
Well, that's one thing I hear a lot from some of the smaller guys coming in to the program, and they're like, "Oh, I just hate spreadsheets. I just like hate looking at numbers. And I get confused." I'm like, "Dude, learn to love it." That's the only way.
Let's do a joint effort where everyone in your group will help them build a budget and just go through a whole like budget planning exercise and plan out their whole forecast for 2025. That would be awesome.
We can do that.
I'd totally be down. I'll show the exact sheet that I use and my whole process, and then people can just follow along. Yeah.
Let's do it, man. We'll email it out to 30,000 painters, and we'll do some social stuff, and we'll
do it.
Awesome. This is fun.
Cool. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to take that assessment, you can go to hirebus.com/painter growth. And then, go there, you can take the free assessment, and you'll get emailed the results after you take it, of a coaching report and what we call the behavioral blueprint, which has 21 different behaviors. And it's really fascinating stuff. The first time I took it, it freaked me out. It was another company we bought the assessment and technology from that was, super high level. And it nailed me so much. And so that we adopted it purely for home service businesses.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Well, dude, I'm excited to. I'm gonna go down this path. I'm gonna reach out to you about this budget thing. That'd be a super fun, like, little group, different type of webinar. Like an action-based webinar.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
that
cool. We could send out the sheet in advance, and people could follow along.
Yeah,
Go through it. That'd be
100%.
fun. Yeah, I
Let's
love
do
that.
it. All right, dude. Well, good talking to you, man, and we'll to be continued.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.